Right, let's start. What do we have? Okay, we'll start with the non-ranked game. We'll start with the non-ranked. I did promise I would do unranked game as well. So we'll start with the Missouri game. We'll start with the Missouri game, then I kind of want to cover some ranked games since a lot of people have been requesting me to feature some ranked gameplay.
I think I'm much more humble than you understand.
A Waterboy, thank you for the 7 months. 10,000 Suns, thank you for the 5 months. Much appreciated. Play some Sabaton? Nah, I don't want too much music if we're gonna be doing replay commentaries. Oh baby, wow! Look at this. Who is this clan? Wow, the winner of clan battles. Wow, this clan must be really good to have won the entire thing. I wonder who they are. I wonder if they're recruiting. Probably not. Right, let's check this out. What do we have? Missouri, tier 10 matchmaking, hardly surprising. 3 DDs, that's pretty okay because the Missouri is exceptionally good at dealing with everything. Minotaur is always a nice target to smoke fire. No Yamato, which is nice. You can just sit angled in. The Conqueror is an issue, of course, but Conqueror is an issue to every battleship in the game. Humble. Right. Well, first of all, pushing into... If your DD decides to go into A, pushing close to the island and radaring is a really good way of supporting him. Basically, you poke your nose in here, and you pop radar, and you got plenty of time to deal damage, and if they start focusing you, you can just reverse behind the island, and it's a really safe way. It's a really safe way of supporting your team, and it's a really safe because first of all, there's a significant cause. You radar the entire cap, you bring firepower, you bring support. Any DD fighting you will get wrecked, so it's a huge help. But there's also an escape right next to you, so there's very low risk. It's also at the start of the game, so there's no chance of them being torped. Actually, this Shimakaze smoke is probably pretty bad, unless it's probably more meant for this guy, the Baltimore next to you. Ideally, of course, the Baltimore should be pushing full speed in there so he can support with the radar. I don't know why he's slowing down, especially with the smoke to help him. Flamu, I heard the YouTuber Flamu was in Omni. Do you know him? No, I don't really, but I heard he's pretty amazing. Apparently, if you sub to him on Twitch, like you become significantly better at the game. That sounds pretty sick to me. Let's see, what is your team doing? Gearing is contesting mid, or trying to. That's always good. They have a Minotaur quite close by though, so that's probably going to be extremely risky to contest. Your Fletcher is okay. That's always a downside. You're taking your sweet time pushing into this. I'm not really sure why you're taking such a long time pushing in here. I think you could have just pushed full speed, especially thanks to the smoke. The longer you take, the likelier that it is that someone will be torping this smoke. You need to understand this. At the beginning of a game, the torps have to reload. So you won't get torped right at the start when you push in. But if... okay, that was a really wasted radar. I'll get back to that. What's really important is that if you push in slowly like this, the torps will have time to have been reloaded, and they will have time to have traveled to your smoke. So pushing slow is actually a bad thing here. Okay, we can get rid of that. Nice. Radar here, pretty goddamn pointless. There were multiple reasons why the radar was pointless, and that's because we knew there was no one in the cap, because the Shima could cap it without being anyone spotting him. So there was absolutely no chance of capturing anything in that radar. You knew that A was clear. Your radar range only extends barely to the edge of the cap. You can turn it on. You can see it barely extends past the cap here. So we already knew you weren't going to catch anything with the radar. So it was kind of a wasted radar from the beginning. The best thing you could catch was some DD down here. So ultimately a bit of a waste. Minotaur was outside of range, and having radar now when you push in would probably be pretty damn useful. I probably wouldn't push into this cap though. I mean, you can, but is it really the best option? You're kind of committed already. Oh shit, I forgot I'm not locked into you. You can push in, but do you really want to push in here? There's a Shima in front of you, you no longer have Hydro. I guess the Baltimore might radar him, but the biggest issue is your Shima is going around, meaning he's no longer scouting for you. Your scout is gone, you know there's a Shima here. They have, the kid is there, but who are we missing? We're missing the gearing. he was probably helping capping B. So there's potential of double torps coming in towards you. You no longer have your radar ready either. Can that stop doing that shit? So even though pushing in does give you a pretty good new angle, what about pushing up here? You would get an even better angle, and you would also be able to rejoin your team, and you wouldn't be pushing into potential crossfires. So I'm a bit sketchy about this positioning. It's not necessarily bad, but I feel if you went this north way, you could have pushed full speed and you could have rejoined your team over here and supported them better. Whereas because you're going this way, you have to go extremely slow because there's the risk of being torped all the time. Note that the enemy team is sailing away from you, so the longer you sit here, the further away from you they move, and the less useful you become. You're a battleship, you want to have this influence on the map. Are you noticing the shima is up? The shima is up. You want to turn your guns. Okay, I guess you haven't noticed it yet. More minimap awareness. You should be turning your guns. No. Sniping a battleship at 20 km versus hitting a shimakaze that was literally within your radar at 9.5. Absolutely should be focusing destroyer here. You want to help your shima. You don't. If that shima stays alive there now because of that, he's going to be harassing your entire push the entire time. He's constantly going to be torping you. You will never be able to angle towards the enemy because every time you turn broadside, you risk getting torps from this guy. This guy should have been your absolute #1 priority. Get rid of him. You have to angle against torpedoes just the same way you have to angle against battleships. Torpedoes are slow, yes. But if you are sailing full broadside to them, sooner or later you will get absolutely devastated. That's why people don't like pushing in with having a DD on their flank. Because that DD will eventually get lucky and that will absolutely annihilate you. So, once again, why not help your team with the Minotaur? Why are you focusing on all this random shit? Help your team. You could have maybe pushed out here, turned your guns to support him, maybe go full speed here, you have radar ready. The Shima just used his torps, so you know there's low risk of them. You need to be more involved with your team. So far, your radar hasn't really given you any value. It hasn't given you or the team really any value at this point. And your positioning is such, you waited too long. The idea of pushing down here, even though it was skeptical, at least it gave you a new angle where you could do some damage, potentially. But you've been sitting here for too long and the enemy team has just moved away from you and you've kind of been left behind. Minotaur, there's a chance he might get spotted. You should push full speed into B. At this point I would probably avoid shooting, simply because you get to know if you're detected or not. Well, if the Minotaur shows himself, of course you devastate him. Shoot your back guns at him as well. Pushing into the cap is fine. We know the Shima is south, we know the gearing is here, we know the kid is here, so you know this is potentially a free cap. There's even the potential of if you can get undetected. You should be shooting the Minotaur again, by the way. I don't know why you're letting him go without shooting your back guns. If he survives, he can heal all that back up. Once again, finish the kills, clear the flank. That's very important. You want to clear the flank. If that Minotaur had survived, smoked up here, and started harassing your entire team, like smoked up down there. Where the hell did my cursor go? If he smokes up down here and starts harassing your entire flank, that would have been a goddamn nightmare. Shooting, okay. I mean, that's a pretty damn flat broadside. That is a pretty spicy to get. But you have the option here to potentially get a cap for your team. And your team really needs a cap. So, was it worth it? There's a Kutuzov in the smoke here. We saw him on the minimap. Is he going to start spamming you now? Are they going to push to defend the cap? It seems like you got really lucky. Now you should absolutely not fire. Nope, never mind. They reset the cap. You should not shoot. You should just sit here and wait. Don't shoot, wait the 50 seconds. No one should be able to spot you in 50 seconds if you just chill, and your team really needs this cap. They really need it. You should be reversing and angling though, because this Code Force is pushing down here, and the further he pushes, the more broadside he gets, so you should be going full rudder left and reversing, so you point your stern this way. You want to angle against the incoming Code Force. Now you're angling, so you're actually giving him more broadside. And this is good. Oh, well, this is not good, because we still don't know when you're gonna get spotted, which is any second now. Oh boy, he's so close. And you're spotted. And now you're full broadside. If you accelerate now, he's gonna have the flattest citadel of your life. Okay, you're tunnel visioning. Okay, you're not... This is very dangerous if you accelerate here. What are you looking at? Let's turn to your camera. You're looking at your shots on the Kutuzov. You're giving flat broadside to Montana and Kurfürst. This should be a devastating strike from these two. If these guys have any awareness, you're dead. It appears that they're not paying attention to the minimap at all, and both of them completely missed you. That's very fortunate. But that's exactly what it was. Very fortunate. Overall, map awareness. Oops, let me look back in. Overall, map awareness is like the big downside here. You need to commit to clearing your flanks. Why does it unlock? You need to commit to clearing your flanks, and you need to pay more attention to your minimap. Hey, dude, there we go. Trollish armor, or trollish guns, didn't want to look back in. More broadside, this is good. No, but moving to dodge the torps is one thing, but he should have changed his angle. He got very lucky that neither the Kurfürst or the Montana were paying attention. If they had been paying attention, he would be so absolutely annihilated by now. I guess the heal is okay. Bit early, but then again, you are pushing into battle. The question is, why are you pushing in, though? Explain this push to me. Push, please. Why do you want to push? You have 2 caps. You have a ship lead, you have a cap lead. There is absolutely nothing to be gained from pushing in right now. Why are you pushing? Explain this to me. I do not understand this push at all. There's potential Shima on your flank. You don't know what's sitting back here behind the islands. There's 2 battleships here. What exactly are you pushing for? You're pushing into a brawl in Kurfürst as well. Why do you want to push in? He's dumb enough to give you a lot of broadside, which gives you a lot of damage, but why exactly are you pushing? You have a central position in the middle of the map, which is excellent. But the further you push, the worse your position becomes. There's absolutely no need to push. You're super close now. You risk being brawled. You risk being crossfired. What if this Conqueror who pops around here, are you paying attention to him? What if he loads AP and blaps you over this mountain? This is what? 15 kilometers and you're full broadside, barely moving? This is like the easiest devastating strike of his life. Map awareness, map awareness, map awareness. And this positioning, I don't like it at all. I don't think there was any need to push in at all. I thought the position holding B was absolutely perfect. And all this push did is make you an extremely attractive target because you're extremely overextended. You're extremely overextended. You have double fires, triple now, you should be repairing. Damage con, damage con, damage con. There we go. Charles Martel is the easier target to deal with. You can angle against the Montana. I would probably deal with the Charles Martel first. He's going to be spamming HE. You have used your repair. You have used your repair. Deal with the cruiser, giving you full broadside and just spamming HE on you non-stop. The Montana will do damage, sure, but if you stay angled, his DPM will be quite low indeed. And I would instead deal with the guy who's about to set you on fire again. Full reverse is good. You're not trying to use the back gun, that's also good. I wouldn't recommend it. You want to survive. This is full survival mode at this point, trying to mitigate the damage you're taking. He's dumb enough to give you really... You should aim lower, I think. I think that's going to land a bit too high. But then again, if you're going for superstructure hits, it's okay. It's not going to be that much damage then. Charles Martel fled. At this point, Montana is the only viable target. Positioning, I disagreed with most of the game. I think positioning was the big... Map awareness was one thing. Clearing flanks was another. Like, you risk... This Shimakaze was on your flank the entire game. Luckily, he didn't play it well. If he had, he could have been a massive thorn. Finishing the Minotaur would have been highly recommended. Secure kills. It's very important to, like, get them dead. Especially if it's a Minotaur who can heal up and sit in smoke and still be useful. And positioning. Positioning. I want to note that in this game you had 3 DDs and you had a smoke firing Minotaur and you had a smoke firing Kutuzov, and I don't think your radar radared a single ship. 5 out of 12 ships, almost half the enemy ships, were targets who were extremely viable to be radared, and I don't think your radar caught a single one of them. So more efficient positioning where you can actually make use of one of the strongest consumables in the game, and more central positioning, I guess, because that one was pretty awkward. Let's see. We'll do one more random battle. And then I want to do some ranked. Or ranked commentaries. Fucking runner. Let's see. What do we have here? Doom. I heard it was a teleport consumable. Now that would be broken. Okay, we got an Atago ranked game that I want to check out. Is that the only ranked game we have? We got Runner's Troll game. Maybe people will link more ranked commentaries or ranked replays. I just want average games, guys. You don't have to like find some super special game. Just an average game works just fine. I'm sure I'll be able to find both good and bad things in it. Now let's see. What do we have here? Tier 8 matchmaking. To begin with, that's extremely fortunate. No carrier either. Which is, I mean, you got defensive AA, so not necessarily that big of a deal. Battleship-wise, they don't have really any. They don't have the super accurate heavy hitters, aka no North Carolina, no Amagi. That already makes your life significantly easier. No smoke fire, no Kutuzov to spam you as you try to flank. No real DD threats either. Wow, so this is like very extremely favorable matchmaking. This is very favorable matchmaking. The map is standard battle though, which is less useful. Then again, for French cruisers, standard battle is pretty okay because in general, French cruisers need time to be effective. The only thing a French cruiser brings to the game is damage. That's really the only thing they have. Constant DPM, that's their strength. And the problem with domination games is they can snowball extremely quickly. You lose a couple caps and the game is already over before you can actually have any impact. Standard games tend to draw out. Standard battles tend to draw out and they tend to take a long time, which actually favors the French cruisers because their strength, which is survival, maneuverability and firepower, actually becomes a very, very important thing or a valuable perk to have. Yoshida is pushing the cap or pushing the gap where C usually is. In general, wait, am I locked to your guns? Yeah, I am. You're looking at the, I don't know what the hell this Fiji is doing. I guess you're as confused as I am about what the hell the Fiji is doing. You have a DD pushing the left flank. You also have two battleships pushing the left flank. So ideally where you want to position right now is where you can farm these two. Ideally, somewhere around here and sailing this way would be optimal. If you're positioned here and you're sailing away like this, no one here can shoot your broadside. You're angling against the entire enemy team, and the only way your guns are pointing is the only guys who can actually shoot at you are the guns the people you're shooting at. So position down here while kiting away would be optimal. In fact, all three of their battleships are already there, so you have even more reason to position on this left flank. You are, however, turning for the right flank, which is something I don't really agree with, because there are ships here that you are especially built to counter. You don't have Hydra, you don't have radar, which means you're not particularly good at fighting DDs. You don't really become a really good pushing ship. You want to be kiting away where the enemy is pushing, and the enemy is clearly pushing on the left flank, so you want to be on this flank kiting away. So to begin with, positioning I disagree with. I think you should, as soon as these battleships are spotted, you should have popped your speed boost and started moving this way and started kiting away and started farming them. That's a lot of missed damage potential, especially since your team is backing off, which means they will almost guaranteed keep pushing, which is pretty much the perfect scenario for a French cruiser. You get to kite and farm all day. Your team is doing something extremely stupid. They're flanking through D. I mean, already pushing through D is awful, because these two islands, you see these two islands here, these are the reason why D is the worst cap. These two islands block all fire from D. So if a battleship goes down here like the Scharnhorst is, this battleship will not be able to shoot at any enemies until he exits up here, which will most likely be 2 minutes later. So going to D is always a bad choice, especially in battleships. Even more so now that we have spotted that the majority of their team is pushing from the left, going to D means that you're these guys are knowingly going where there's guaranteed to be almost no enemies. So a quarter of your team has just removed themselves from the fight, about to be a third once this guy gets there. So you are down a quarter of, or a third of your team, and you need to keep this in mind. Pushing this flank just became a lot riskier because you're about to be. It might look like you're 8 versus 4, but because your team is all hiding behind the left, you're in fact 4 versus 4, and they have the defender's advantage. Yo, can this thing? I'm pressing shift and it does nothing. Ugh, I hate this bug. I hate how they somehow managed to break this stuff. No. I don't want to put some easy to use keys on. Jesus, I just wanted to press shift. Okay, well, I guess we're gonna have this great new feature. Nelson, of course, eats a ton of HE damage, easy to farm. You slow down and started reversing. I actually don't mind this at all because this way these people can't shoot you, so reversing here is good. You're giving a bit too much broadside. This ship has really good firing angles. You don't need to be giving this much broadside. You could be angling much sharper. You could be angling like this instead of angling like this. But, I mean, he's not shooting you and you're able to farm for free, so that's always good. But once again, keep an eye on the minimap. Your left flank is collapsing. Your left flank is completely collapsing, and since you're not there to kite, slow down and spam them, they're gonna be pushing through quite hard. Flamu, you should press shift, it says so in game. Oh shit. Wow, weird. It's almost like it did nothing. Are you scroll zooming too for fun? It says press shift. You should be using shift, not scroll zoom. He has a broken engine. One thing you should be doing, which I don't see you doing at all, is switching to 3. Every now and then press 3 and switch to your torpedo view to get an idea of how fast the guy you're shooting at is moving. You basically have a built-in enemy speed indicator. You just need to use it. So switch to torp tubes every now and then to get an idea of how quickly they're moving, and you're kind of neglecting it. Interestingly, it seems you don't have priority target, and that makes me sad. Priority target is my #1 absolute must-have perk on every single cruiser in the game. There's no situation where not having it on a cruiser is a good idea. It's a must-have perk. And you don't have it. And that makes giving as much broadside as you gave earlier even worse, because you weren't even using priority target, so you didn't know if someone was actually targeting you. You're giving a lot of broadside here. You want to turn away? I think you could have kept pushing. You could have gone nose in. It's a Graf Spee. Look how much backup you have. Look how much backup you have over here. It's 1 Graf Spee. Exactly why did you turn away from him? It's a tier 6 battleship. You're a tier 6 cruiser that's giving broadside to your entire team. I think you could have easily turned nose in and just charged him. Also, you're not using your speed boost. Why are you not using your speed boost? It's for more than just moving around. It's also for dodging, being more agile to dodge shells. Flamu, 13-point captain. Okay, so you go priority target, adrenaline rush, superintendent if you don't want to respec, otherwise you go demo expert, and you go concealment expert. That's 10 points. So, priority target should be your first #1 pointer, 2 for fun. That should be your #1 1-point ability. Nothing else is as valuable. There's no other perk at tier 1 for 1 point that is more valuable than priority target for a cruiser. Absolutely nothing. It's amazing. Absolutely must have. But yeah, the turnaround, questionable. I guess defending cap, but I don't think you were actually turning around to defend cap. I think you only just happened to notice it now. Priority target is a priority, hence the name. Pretty much, it's absolute must-have. There's no build I can recommend. I have never recommended, ever since they added the perk, I have never recommended a single cruiser build in the entire game that doesn't run priority target. Take it from someone who has played like thousands upon thousands upon thousands of cruiser games. Priority target is amazing, and absolutely use it. Absolutely use it. Another thing is, please use shift. Scrolling in and out takes too much time and is usually a waste. At this point you should be running speed boost and charging into the cap to help defend it. There's obviously a DD there. Popping your fighter plane is also good, gives you advance warning of incoming torpedoes, might help spot these guys hiding behind the island. In fact, your consumable usage has been pretty much non-existent, which is I don't really see the reason why not. Did you? I guess you just forgot you had them, but more consumable usage, absolutely. Your fighter plane could have been helping you a lot earlier in spotting, and it could certainly be helping you now, because it would tell you a lot about the incoming torpedoes. Another thing, don't sit like this. Check what the hell these guys are aiming at. Your guns should be pointing at this New Mexico and seeing if he's aiming at you. If he's aiming at you, you need to angle in. We have no idea. You don't have priority target. Now you'd realize you have to look at him. Luckily, he's not pointing at you. But once again, priority target also helps significantly there, because it would help you know if he's actually starting to turn his guns towards you or not. So at this point, it looks like you're about to... Are you gonna cap the enemy base? That was some nice French double fire RNG. AP would be extremely good here. There's no need. If a battleship gives you broadside, especially lower tier ones that have huge superstructures, Colorado, New Mexico, those types of ships, just switch to AP and you can absolutely wreck them. Oh, double strike for the Fubuki. And your base is safe. Monarch could have possibly deleted you there. I don't know if you noticed, but you just sailed full broadside past this guy. You sailed like this as he popped out. But I guess you didn't notice it on the minimap. Once again, you would have seen him coming around the island a lot sooner if you had your fighter plane in the air. Because if you had your fighter plane in the air, he would have been seen on the other side of the island at all times. Fighter planes can spot up to 11 kilometers away, and almost all battleships at tier 8 and higher get spotted at 11 kilometers. So you should have them in the air at all times, especially when you might be pushing into unknown territory, as you were here. Why is this guy scroll swimming so much? I don't know. He should be using shift though. Also, I don't know why he's turning away. Once again, just like earlier with the Graf Spee, why are you fleeing? This guy is pushed by 5 ships from here, 3 ships from here. He's caught in a crossfire. Push him, punish him, hunt him down while he's still in a crossfire. There's no reason to flee from him. Like, what are we fleeing from? He's not even aiming at you. So, bit of a lost opportunity to deal additional damage here. And in general, you want to be pushing north to begin with, because the enemy team is all north. So you would want to be moving this way to begin with. If you go left here, he's going to get behind the island and you won't be able to deal damage to him anymore. You should have been turning right like this so you could keep firing the entire way as you chased. I guess you noticed it yourself now as well. I thought you preferred spotter plane more or fighter. Depends. I prefer spotter plane on ships that can punish smoke. But for example, on Charles Martel, fighter plane is much better because it gives you so much intel. It also helps you so much against the torps, because you don't run Hydra on it, you run defensive AA. So you want something against torpedoes, and double fighter planes is an excellent tool to help against torps. Enemy team is so out of position at this point that you should be able to secure the camp. But ultimately, consumable usage, big one. I think big lack of consumable usage. Playing safe is fine in a cruiser, but I think there were situations where you kind of overestimated your need to play safe, like with the Graf Spee turning around, with the Monarch turning around. Always look at, when you zoom in, look at where the guns are pointed. If a battleship is pointed his guns at the complete opposite way, by the time his guns are turned around towards you and he's shooting at you, you have like a good 30-second warning, maybe even 40 seconds before he can actually shoot you. So the risk is actually quite small in pushing towards him aggressively. Right, let's check out some ranked. We have an Atago ranked replay. That should be interesting. I don't think we see too much Atago these days. Fire alert, yeah, I have incoming fire alert is not good. You shouldn't rely on it. You should be paying it. Fire alert teaches you bad habits, including you lose map awareness because you rely on your perk to tell you instead of looking at the minimap and seeing people pop up. No worries, too, for fun. Don't take it personally, by the way. It's just game criticism, which is what it's meant as. Things that can be improved, things that can be bettered. Right. So what do we have here? We have Atago. Double carrier. Well, that's bad for the Atago. You're running Hydra Atago as well. Thank you for that. You're running Hydro Atago as well, which is... I think, in my opinion, if you're queuing up with Hydro consumable and no defense against carriers, just if you see carriers in the queue, just leave the queue and re-queue. Because I think you're kind of making life pretty hard for yourself. Overall, you do have... These fucking arms. Jesus Christ. You do have fighter plane though, which is good. You are doing exactly what you should be doing in an Atago, and that's pushing with your DD to support the camp. They have Alabama, Tirpitz, Bismarck, you have Alabama. Pretty goddamn equal matchmaking. You both have a radar. Your Chapayev is actually pushing into a good position. Chapayev down here is excellent because he can radar both caps. Ameya, thank you for the sub, much appreciated. Turning away as the fighter might spot you is a good idea. Keep turning. Priority target should start lighting up around now. There we go. You should be avoiding now. You should already be turning left now, because you don't know if they're shooting from behind the island. So yep, he shot. You should be turning. You turned in. Sketchy. Okay. Why didn't I like turning in here? Because if the planes were still around, if the planes pushed back and kept you spotted, you would have been forced to keep pushing in. You would have been forced to stay nose in because they have 3 battleships. When there's 3 battleships focusing you, you never have like a gap between shots when you can turn out to the left and get into cover, but you're stuck in the position. And if you're stuck pushing in towards battleships, you're probably going to have a pretty bad time. So in general, in that situation, I would probably have opted to go for a more defensive approach than pushing in. But you did get away with it fairly well, and your carrier did kind of chase away the planes. Switch to your torp view, switch to your torp view. Is he accelerating? Is he reversing? You don't know. Switching to your torp view would have told you right now if he was trying to move one way or the other. The reload on the guns on the Atago is massive. It's 16 seconds. So you have a lot of downtime between shots to get an idea of what your target is doing. So you have to make sure that your shells hit. So that was 2 volleys that completely missed, and you could probably mitigate that by just switching to your torps and using the lead indicator to give you an idea of which way the ship was moving. And now you're exactly in that situation I spoke of earlier. You're forced to push in. You're locked to push in. You can't turn out to the left, because if you do, the Tirpitz or Bismarck might blap you. So you are forced into a predictable path. And if the Benson was smarter, he would be shooting AP at your broadside right now. He would just be farming you with AP. Looks like he completely bailed instead though, lucky for you. And you're eating a lot of damage. Problem here right now is you're the front line. Not the battleships, not the DDs, but you. And the Atago doesn't make for a good front line. You have a heal, so you have sustain, but it's still not a good way to throw away this health. And now there's got a strike coming in, and you have no defensive AA, and you're actually a very prime target for it. There is in fact no one with defensive AA nearby. If this carrier has any idea what he's doing, he will completely annihilate you right now. The question is, does he have any idea what he's doing? He's using the HE bombs on the Graf Zeppelin instead of the AP bombs. I don't know if this Zeppelin even has AP bombs. Regardless though, the damage he took was much lower than it should have been. First of all, if you want to push into some really aggressive position against the carrier, you must be running defensive AA. You can't be pushing into an offensive position with Hydro. Like, trying to push into a position like this without Hydro, if the carrier has any idea what he's doing, is getting yourself killed. Guaranteed. So, that was honestly quite fortunate. You don't stop reversing, stop your reversing. He could shoot you and delete you now if you had any idea what he was doing. Okay, you waited far too long. Remember that the ship glides, so you could easily have... Okay, that guy was an absolute idiot. Why didn't he delete? That's 2 times he should have died now. Remember that when you reverse course, your ship has momentum. It glides. It glides one way or another. So when you reverse there, you should have started accelerating significantly sooner, because your ship was still going to glide backwards for a couple of more seconds before that. Once again, I hate your position. I absolutely hate it. I don't know why the Alabama is pushing the Chapayev. The Alabama should just sit here. The Alabama should literally park here and farm you. And there would be nothing you could do about it. You would be guaranteed dead. You can't move. You would just sit there and be farmed. But for some reason he decides instead to rush at Chapayev, which... I mean, it's... I don't know what ranked level this is, or tier, but very questionable. I hated this push. Why did you push out? If the Edinburgh is paying attention, he can delete you now. No, the Edinburgh is not paying attention. He should be shooting AP at your broadside. He should be farming citadels right now. Like, where's the incoming citadels? They're literally being farmed on you for free this entire time. Oh my god, this guy is fucking asleep. Okay. I hated a lot of the moves in this. I hated a lot of the positioning. Atago is not a park behind an island and camp kind of cruiser. It doesn't have the tools for it. It doesn't have a radar it can use to spot caps and defend them. It doesn't have forward mounted turrets. In fact, if you point nose in, you can only use 40% of your guns. It doesn't. You're not running defensive AA, and even if you did, the AA on the ship isn't particularly good. So what it does have is great concealment and a heal, which gives it sustain. It's a maneuverable flanker. Atago wants to be on the move at all times. You want to be kiting. It also has an extremely long reload with terrible DPM, which means you want to shoot the volley and then turn around and angle and kite, then you turn and shoot again and you kite. And you want to keep playing it like that. If you try to position yourself moving slowly behind islands and stuff, you're basically working against the strengths of the ship itself. You should have AP loaded, absolutely guaranteed. You just saw the smoke fade. A lot of opportunities to have AP loaded in this game. Once again, I hate this push. If this Alabama would just reverse and shoot you, you would be in a crossfire. Luckily, he seems like he's pushing away. The Edinburgh, for some reason, doesn't want to shoot you, even though he could 1 versus 1 you right now. If he just peeks out enough, only you would be nose to nose against an Edinburgh, which isn't exactly that favorable to you. Now he pushes out fully, which is certainly questionable. You must assume he torped. If an Edinburgh doesn't move like that, you must assume there is torps incoming. Luckily though, the rest of the enemy team is so out of position that even though he locked you into turning towards him because of the torpedoes, there is actually very little chance that you'll take any damage. Recommend expert loader on Atago. It's pretty good, yeah, for ranked especially. No need to be rude. Yeah, I mean, the people who are doing this are sending in replays to improve. So, I mean, shit-talking someone who's actively trying to improve is a bit stupid. There's a difference between people who are new or bad at the game and they just go whatever, or they argue that they're really good or something, and a difference with someone who's actively trying to improve. Trying to improve is always a good thing. Torps are good. Or do you really want to be giving this much broadside? He could be popping out. He does spot you. Angle. Okay, pops up from there. Why is he giving you full flank broadside? I think that was a bit high. Still a bit high. You want to aim the waterline. Waterline. You want the citadels. There we go. Why is that guy ignoring you though? Drop torps. You have another set of torps that fire backwards. You could have dropped them into that smoke. No reason not to drop them while you were still giving broadside. Overall, more torpedo usage, especially more lead indicator usage. Use the lead indicator to get an idea of how fast your target is moving. You have, once again, huge downtimes between shots. You should be using that downtime to make sure your next shot is as accurate as possible. Can we shift away this thing? Nope. Up. Go away! I don't want to use your fucking lock keys. There we go. At this point, this game has already been over for a while. It's kind of just a technicality at this point. I don't think there's too many interesting things here. The Benson, for some reason, is just trying to farm kills. Should be an easy enough dodge. Yeah, that should be an easy enough. There's not really much to it. The Bismarck is playing it safe, which I don't really mind. Why would he need to push in? They have a lead, they have a cap, they know he doesn't have anything. The fact that you're pushing though means that he should be supporting you, but I don't know about your push either. I mean, what are you pushing in for? You don't have defensive AA. Luckily the carrier is not that good. But yours, why is, oh my god. Press C to switch to front turrets. Okay, when you're in that situation, you're zoomed in like that, and the guy is going behind the islands. Had you pressed C there, you could have switched your point of view to your front turrets, and you could have used the front turrets to hit him, even if the back gods would have hit the island. So a missed opportunity there to perhaps even kill the Benson because of how much damage you do. So when zoomed in, the C switches point of view between different turrets. Turning away to play safe, that's perfectly fine. Then again, your push was questionable to begin with. Note that your Hydra is about to run out. That makes this push extremely debatable. He also saw you were spotted pushing in here. Is it preemptively torping? If he was smart, he could be preemptively torping. He's very low HP. If he's running AR, his reload will be extremely fast. He knows you're in the camp. At this point though, you'll be guaranteed able to trade if you spot him, because his torps aren't fast enough to kill you. He did torp, but they were very late. Quite easy to dodge. Quite lucky, to be fair, in that sense. Once again, this push is very debatable. At this point, the game is almost guaranteed over, and not really much more to talk about this. But consumable usage, I don't really like the Hydro. If you see a carrier in the queue, you should probably just leave the queue. Positioning in general, too much stale play. You want to play the Atago like a Charles Martel. You constantly on the move, pushing the flanks or kiting away and just harassing them with HE. And you don't want to be locked behind an island like you were there. That's a terrible position for an Atago. Far too easy to punish you if you're sitting stationary like that. Right, okay, well I just don't see any more ranked replays. Does anyone have any ranked replays? Anyone have any ranked replays for me? Giving you... I'm gonna get something to drink. Put me a replay while I go. BRB 1 sec.